Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are Ohio.
Corey Kluber was on his A game last night, but one ill-fated inning got the Twins back in the game, and they took advantage, walking it off in the 11th. Danny Salazar gets the call-up today, and he'll try to duplicate the effort of the Indians' Cy Young winner. But the Indians need to get the bats going, and the task will be tough as they face Phil Hughes next on Sports Time Ohio. Another beautiful day in the Twin Cities. And this afternoon in downtown Minneapolis at Target Field, the Cleveland Indians will try to even their series up against the Minnesota Twins at 1 apiece. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. You have long held the belief that winning absolves all sins in the game of baseball. Last night, when the Indians lost, and the way they did, you look back at that sixth inning, their miscues cost them dearly.
Well, it really does. When you're not scoring runs, everything is magnified, and it started with the defense. Kluber had a perfect game after 5 innings. He gave up a base hit and threw a wild pitch. Then the next hitter comes up and gets a base hit. You still have a 2-0 lead. The throw is up the line. You let the tying run get in scoring position. You don't leave Corey a chance for a double play. A mistake made here by Ramirez trying to go to third base. He is called safe, and then the inning just unraveled from that point on. Safety squeeze. Kluber flips it to the plate. Nobody advanced. A wild pitch on the strikeout. Comes up, ties the game. He does a terrific job to get a double play and get out of the inning, but they gave the Twins an opportunity to win this game in extra innings because the offense couldn't score. Klub hit a 3-1 pitch into the seats. Walk-off extra inning win for the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, and the frustration continues for this Indians offense that is yet to bust out. Maybe that'll happen here this afternoon. When we come back, we'll take a look at today's pitching matchup as Danny Salazar goes to the hill for the Tribe against Phil Hughes. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by W.B. Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. Back here at Target Field in Minnesota, Indians and the Twins getting ready for the first pitch this afternoon. It's game 2 of this 3-game weekend series. You know, you look at today's pitching matchup, Danny Salazar going for Cleveland, and last year he faced him 3 times, and the Indians won all 3 of those games.
Well, Salazar had an opportunity to win that number 5 spot out of spring training. It'll be his first start this year, called up from Columbus. It's about the fastball. Can he get the fastball down in the zone? A lot of times he keeps it up, and will his off-speed pitches be there, either the changeup or the slider, to take the hitters off his fastball? He will be matched up against a very tough customer in Phil Hughes, who's 4-1 against the Indians at 2.80 ERA. Hughes off to a slow start this year. He's 0-2. He's given up 3 home runs. He gave up only 16 home runs all last year. This guy has the cutter, a fastball, a curveball, and a changeup. And if you're the Indians hitters and they're struggling to hit, look early in the count to be aggressive. He throws fastballs and those cutters, and he's got excellent control. One of the best in the business when it comes to control.
Last time he faced the Indians, he got a no decision, but the Twins won that game. And he also had a game last year against the Tribe in which he pitched 7 innings and only allowed 1 run. So could be a tough matchup once again for the Tribe here this afternoon in Minneapolis. We'll be back with today's first pitch coming up next. We're just about ready for baseball here at Target Field in downtown Minneapolis. Let's head downstairs to Andre Knott. Andre, you look at today's starting lineup for the Indians. Michael Brantley and Lonnie Chisenhall combined for 4 hits last night. The rest of the lineup combined for 3 hits. What are they going to do to get it going?
Confidence, confidence, confidence. You know, Rick talked about this last night when we brought up Brandon Moss and some of the struggles he's had early in the year. And he says, look, he just needs to get 1 hit to kind of get it out of his mind. Well, last night, Brandon, after the game, was really tough with himself, saying, yeah, I hit the home run. He goes, but the problem is, he goes, I missed a ton of pitches that I usually hit. And really, that's a microcosm of this entire lineup. They're missing the pitches they should hit, and they're getting caught up and being behind in the count at 1-2 and 0-2. Ty Van Berkeley and the coaching staff has said, hey, stay aggressive, especially against a guy like Phil Hughes today. Jump out there, get that first pitch, and if you don't get it, stay aggressive in your at-bat and don't worry about what the count is. Hopefully they can begin doing that, because in the past, and you guys know this, even if it wasn't the whole lineup hitting, one guy could carry them for a couple days. We have not seen that early on in this season. They've all kind of struggled at the same time.
Good information, Andre. Something we'll keep an eye on, the aggressive approach here today against Phil Hughes. Let's look at the Indians starting lineup right now, presented by Progressive Insurance. Michael Bourne will lead it off. Then it's Jason Kipnis, followed by Michael Brantley, who's back in left field today. Carlos Santana, Brandon Moss, and David Murphy in the middle. Lonnie Chisenhall, Roberto Perez, and Jose Ramirez will round it out.
Today's Northern Ohio Honda dealer's starting pitcher for the Minnesota Twins will be Phil Hughes. He will be making his third start this year. 6'5", 250 pounds, and this guy has outstanding control. One of the best in the business. He set a record for the highest strikeout to walk ratio last year at 11.5 strikeouts to every walk that he has. So you better be aggressive. Try not to foul those pitches off and get after it. His cutter has been a little flat in the first two starts from what I understand. We'll see if it is today. He was matched up against Chris Sale in his last outing.
Michael Bourne will lead it off for the Tribe, and Phil Hughes' first pitch of the afternoon is a little bit high for ball one. The 1-0 to Bourne. To right field, Hunter coming in to make the catch. One down.
Take a look at the Twins defense, brought to you by Chrysler. In the outfield from left to right, it's going to be Arcia, Schaefer, and Hunter. On the infield from third to first, Nunez, Santana, Dozier, Mauer, with Suzuki doing the catching.
Trip Gibson calling the balls and strikes. Brian Gorman, the crew chief, at first. Mark Carlson at second. Mike DeMuro down at third. Jason Kipnis takes a fastball for strike one. Kipnis 0 for 4 with a walk last night. Trying to bunt his way aboard, and it's fouled back 0-2. Phil Hughes, when he made his debut in the big leagues back in 2007, he was just 20 years old. And while there was a lot of hype surrounding him and great potential, it took a while for it to take root. He went from starter to bullpen, back to the rotation, and finally in 2010 he broke out with an 18-win season for New York. Just missed outside.
That's that cutter he likes to throw to the left-handers that comes back over the outside corner. Just missed with it.
Hughes with the 2-2. Kipnis following it back out of play. 2012, Phil Hughes was a 16-game winner. Made 32 starts for the Yankees, just shy of 200 innings. I think everybody thought he was on the rise, and then the next year he was 4-14. Just missed inside. Very close pitch. Hughes thought he had strike three, but did not get the call.
Let's take a look at it on our Nissan pitch tracker. It's going to be that cutter inside. It's a good pitch. Boy, that's a tough one to take.
Full count. Payoff pitch. Pops him up. Center field. Schaefer drifting back. 2 down. Our window system. Game time temperature today. 67 degrees. Just a few clouds overhead. Light breeze blowing in here this afternoon.
You know, you're talking about Hughes and why the Yankees didn't re-sign him. He's a fly ball pitcher and gave up some home runs, and only gave up 16 home runs last year in this ballpark.
Well, I think too, Rick, when as there's a liner right at the second baseman, Dozier. Brantley hit it on the screws, but the Indians go 1-2-3. Minnesota coming to bat against Danny Salazar when we come back. It up for Cleveland, and here's the Minnesota starting lineup for manager Paul Molitor, brought to you by Toyota. Danny Santana leads it off. Torrey Hunter in the starting lineup today, bats second. Joe Mauer third. Brian Dozier, who's had a lot of success against Danny Salazar, in the cleanup spot. Kenny Vargas fifth, Kurt Suzuki sixth, Oswaldo Arcia seventh, Eduardo Nunez, and Jordan Schaefer.
Northern Ohio Honda dealers starting pitcher will be Danny Salazar for the Tribe. Danny making his 2015 debut. Started 7 days ago down in AAA. No stranger to the Minnesota Twins lineup in his career. 1-1, making his 5th start.
Danny was scheduled to start in the minor leagues 2 days ago, but they scratched him because they kind of had an idea they were going to need him for today's game. Fastball misses just in off the plate. And a foul right back by Santana. And Salazar puts him down on the count 1-2. Swung on and missed. Good off-speed pitch, and he strikes him out. 1 away.
Check out the Indians defense, brought to you by Chrysler. In the outfield will be Brantley. Gets the start on left. Good to see him back out there. Michael Bourne is in center. David Murphy in right. Chisenhall will be at third. Ramirez at short. Kipnis at second. Santana at first. Perez back behind the plate again.
Torrey Hunter takes a look at a fastball that's high, ball 1. Hunter so far this year, 7 hits and 31 at bats. Lifts one foul out of play. 1-1 the count.
Now, Paul Molitor giving him the day off yesterday. And you know, you've got to pick and choose. Hunter getting older. Picked a good day to get off, didn't he, with Kluber on the mound?
The 1-1. Out of play to the right. Two-twos in the dirt. Torrey Hunter over 15 years in the big leagues. They went back to, you go back to the 1993 draft, and that's when Minnesota made him a first-round pick, the 20th overall selection. He has had an excellent career. Back out of play. I'm sure Torrey would be the first to tell you. I mean, a lot of it has to do with being able to be on the field, and for the most part, he's been able to stay healthy. Line to center. Michael Bourne, a little bit of a late break, but he's able to make the catch. For out number 2, you had one like that yesterday where you get that ball hit right at you and it's not moving, but it's knuckling.
And it's even a little tougher in day games, man, because sometimes it's tough to pick it up out of the white shirts in the stands and the bright background here. So that's why I think he hesitated a little bit. You have to make sure you pick it up first to see where it's going to be. But he does it. He's up for the line drive.
Now Joe Mauer. Mauer was 0 for 3 last night. The Indians did intentionally walk him a couple of times. So far on the year, Mauer has 9 hits. All 9 have been singles. foul right back to the screen.
Well, you see the defensive alignment for Bauer. It used to be where the left side of the infield would play over more. But he's trying to pull the ball a little bit more than he has in the past. As we witnessed last night, him pulling a few foul balls down the first baseline. But he's not a pull hitter. That time he does. He got a high fastball. Salazar left one up in the zone. He's able to get on top of. So the first hit of the ball game.
Check out the keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Indians need some offense. Scored just 2 runs last night. Tough to win when you score 2 or less. And for Danny Salazar, keep the ball down. That fastball was up to Mauer, and he was able to get the barrel to it.
Yeah, normally left-handers like the ball down. They don't like it up, but he was able to get on top of that one. Here's another high fastball hitter right here.
It's one of the reasons that Danny Salazar struggled in Arizona. If you go back and look at spring training numbers, which I know are in relative terms they're meaningless, but the reason he didn't make the club out of spring training is that he consistently could not command the ball down in the strike zone, which is what Terry Francona and Mickey Callaway tried to preach to him all spring. It wasn't for a lack of effort. He just wasn't able to execute it on a consistent basis.
This is a pitch it's going to have to be. That's a slider. I mean, even that was up, but still, he has to throw those for strikes to get him off of his fastball. And there's another good one right there to get the strikeout. I think that might have been a changeup.
Dozier chases it in the dirt. Salazar gets out of the first. No runs ahead. A man left. No score after 1.
MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio, broadcast, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Second inning here at Target Field. No score. Carlos Santana will lead off for Cleveland. You know, to finish the thought on Hughes before, didn't get a chance to before Michael Brantley lined out to end the first inning. You were talking about New York letting him go, being a fly ball pitcher. I think inconsistency probably had a lot to do with the Yankees' deep thinking as well. When you look at what it costs, and I know they're the Yankees and money generally isn't an object there, but it takes a lot to invest in a long-term contract for a starting pitcher. And Hughes just had those wild swings where it goes from an 18-game winner one year to a 5-game winner the next.
Yeah.
Then 16 wins, then 4 wins. Of course, last year he bounced back and had a big year for Minnesota, but what's he going to do this year?
Well, it'll be interesting to see because he's the #1 guy on the staff. And they thought that they were going to be in good shape with Hughes. They ended up going out and signing Irvin Santana. who is now suspended because of drug use. And they lose him for 80 games. So he won't be back until the All-Star break. Nolasco, he's hurt. He's going to be thrown on the side here before too long. So that'll be a question mark. But this is the #1 guy on the staff.
Just missed outside. First-year manager Paul Molitor. How about that? Since 1986, he's just the 3rd manager here in Minnesota. Something to be said for that kind of longevity and consistency.
Consistency is right. They have a tendency to keep them for a while. And Gardenhire did a nice job, who was there for, what, 12 years, I think? And it's just that all of a sudden, sometimes it just wears itself out, you know, in the way the game is nowadays. You need a new voice.
3-2 pitch, and Santana with a liner beyond a diving Brian Dozier into right field. Indians have their leadoff man aboard with their first hit of the game.
Well, he gets all over that high fastball away, and he pulled it and still is able to beat the shift that they put on him. There's Dozier out there diving for it. So the Indians get their first hit and their leadoff man aboard.
And up comes Brandon Moss. Talk about feast or famine last night for Moss. 1 for 4. The home run is first of the year. The other 3 times up he struck out. First ball swinging, a sky high pop left side of the infield. 1 away. That's going to bring up David Murphy. Our stat of the game is brought to you by Buick. Phil Hughes last year, Rick already told you, 0.69 walks per 9 innings.
Yeah, he's around the plate. He throws strikes. He's going to make you put it in play. So why not get ready from the very first pitch?
David Murphy looks. It's a called strike on the outside corner. That's outside, 1-1. The one thing about Phil Hughes is he's truly a pitch to contact guy. In his last start against Chicago, he threw 98 pitches. Of those 98, only 4 produced a swing and a miss.
Yeah. Well, you want them to. You stay out of the middle part of the plate. You paint the edges. You let your defense do the work. That's actually what you want to do when you're not an overpowering guy and you can get swing and misses, unlike a Corey Kluber, who's a power guy that can get the strikeouts. Make him put it in play early.
I guess the only downside to that is when you get to 2 strikes, maybe hitters can stay alive by fouling pitches off. The White Sox fouled off 27 pitches in that game Sunday.
Well, you see that a lot nowadays. A lot of, if you're a fastball pitcher, let's say like Salazar, who's got a much better arm or throws a lot harder, you watch how many foul balls he gets today. Now, if he continues to throw his off-speed pitches for strikes like he did in the first inning, you'll get swings and misses. But with just the fastball.
Lonnie Chisenhall with 2 hits last night takes a look at a ball inside. Lonnie, one of the only hitters in this lineup that's hot right now. Pops this one up, foul, maybe. No, it's out of play. Santana's in scoring position with 2 down, and Chisenhall sends a big hopper to Dozier at second base. And the inning is over. No runs ahead, a man left. Middle of the second, no score in Minnesota. Hitters 5, 6, and 7 due up for Minnesota. Today's Levin player profile on Danny Salazar. Last year after the All-Star break, in his 12 starts, an ERA of 3.50. In 13 of his last 16 starts last year, he allowed 3 earned runs or fewer. Which is why there was so much hope going into spring training this year. But
well, he has games where he shows signs of brilliance, where he can go out there and dominate a lineup. And then if you remember, he had a game, was it last year or the year before, against the White Sox? 10 strikeouts in 3 2/3 innings, and he had like 90-some pitches. That was last year.
Well, that brings up an interesting statistical note on Danny Salazar. When he goes at least 5 innings, which doesn't sound like much, but when he goes at least 5 innings, he's 8-2 with a 248 earned run average in his career. When he doesn't go at least 5 innings, well, you can't get a win if you don't go 5 innings, but he has 9 losses and an ERA of 7.50. 2-1 pitch. Just threw it right by him. Vargas trying to reevaluate because he was no match for that heater from Danny. Tried to go with a changeup, but it floated up out of the strike zone. And now the count is full. Swing and a miss, threw it right by him. He went fastball, couldn't throw the changeup for a strike, went right back to the heater, and Vargas was no match for it. Third strikeout for Salazar, 1 down here in the second inning. Go down to Andre, who has more on Danny Salazar.
Yeah, you know, Mickey Callaway said the slider was the best pitch he had in his last start and his only start down in Columbus, and said probably cleared his mind out once he knew he didn't make the team coming out of spring training, and they like where he's at mentally when it comes to pitching right now.
Well, I know you talked to him before the start, Andre, and the one thing it sounded like from Danny is that he had a lot going on in his head, and a lot of it had nothing to do with what he does when he's on the mound. Foul ball out of play to the right. To sort of paraphrase what Andre talked to Danny about in his interview, though, Danny was thinking about a lot of other things that, you know, about making the club, what I have to do to make the club, about my conditioning, about, you know, his tempo and his pace, instead of all of his focus just being on executing each pitch.
Right. That's the bottom line. You can't worry about all the other stuff. When you walk between the lines, it's one thing. You got to go out and it's one batter at a time. In the old cliches, you got to just do it one pitch at a time and just focus.
1-2 to Dozier. I mean to Suzuki. No match again. That's 3 straight.
The off-speed stuff he's throwing right now, very good. This is going to be our Circle K strikeout, and that's a changeup. Look at that on the inside part of the plate going down. So today, in the first 2 innings, he has his slider, he has his changeup, and he has a very good fastball.
And looking at it from the opposition as a hitter, what does that tell you when you're seeing all of his pitches and they're all working early?
First, yeah, that means you're in for a long day. They're going up there that first time through thinking, oh my goodness, he's got an explosive fastball, which you have to sit on. And then when he gets ahead of you and he can come back and throw that either that slider or the changeup, you've got hitters guessing. Because you know they're talking about it when they walk back into the dugout, and he struck out 4 of the first 6 hitters.
The other thing that the Indians really worked with Danny on this spring, and Mickey Callaway in particular, was tempo. They wanted him to stay somewhere between 12 and 15 seconds between pitches. Get the ball, get the sign, rock and go. He feels like when he dawdles too much or he's taking too much time, he gets out of sync. When he gets up around 20 seconds per pitch, that's when things usually go haywire.
You start thinking about it. You know what? Trust your catcher. Let him call the ball game. When he puts something down, go with it. You know, they have their game plans before this game even starts. He's getting a lot of swings and misses.
Well, I think it goes back to what you said. You've got to sit on that fastball because nobody wants to get beat on a heater.
No, and he's throwing mid-90s, 95, 96.
Now the 2-2. Just off the outside corner, and that went up to 98 miles an hour.
That's okay, though. That's a good pitch, just off the outside edge.
That 3-2 just, I mean, absolutely overpowered the Twins here in the second inning. Strikes them out 1, 2, 3. And we'll go to the third scoreless. No score, third inning. For Cleveland, Roberto Perez will lead it off, batting 8th today. Another spectacular April day here in the Twin Cities. Perez last night 1 for 5 with a single and a run scored. Sinker missed down and in off the plate. There's a high drive, deep left center field. Arcia and Schaefer going to wave goodbye. This one goes into the second deck. Roberto Perez with his second home run of the year. A towering drive to left center field that just kept flying out of here.
Yeah, it did. My goodness. Again now, that's their 6th home run, and all of them have been solos, but this one will give them a 1-0 lead, and he put a jolt into this one. I mean, a fastball down the middle. Hughes already given up his 4th home run. As I mentioned, just 16 all last year, but this one got up there above the bullpens.
Now Jose Ramirez drives one down into the right field corner. He's on his way to second base with a double. So the Indians come out swinging here in the third with a homer and now an extra base hit.
There's another fastball right down the middle. Gave a nice pitch to hit, and he jumps on it. Hits it down to the corner. The very first double for Jose Ramirez this year.
They tell us the tail of the tape on the Perez homer was 435 feet.
Well, it looked like it.
Every bit of it, huh?
It looked like it. Sure did.
And Ty Van Berkeley, got to love that. Coming off the bat at over 100 miles an hour. Bourne trying to bunt. And he shoots it foul.
The Indians this year have not done a good job when they've had runners on base as a team. They're hitting just 182 coming into today's game with runners on base and no homers. He pulls it and gets his job done.
Over to third goes Ramirez, one away. Today's injury report brought to you by the attorneys at Elk & Elk. While he's not injured, Irvin Santana is on the suspension list for PED use. And that was needless to say, a very disappointing development for Minnesota, because it happened right before they were set to break camp. And all of a sudden they lose a guy they were counting on for half the season.
Well, they gave him a 4-year contract and he ends up doing that. I bet they wish they could rescind it. Crazy.
With the infield drawn in, Jason Kipnis takes a called strike, just as he did his first time up. Fouls it out of play. No balls, 2 strikes. Kipnis fly to center. His first time up. He'd take that right here. That'd get the run home. Missed outside. Michael Brantley waiting on deck. One out here in the third. Indians grabbing the early 1-0 lead on the home run by Roberto Perez. To the second baseman, and Ramirez can't score. 2 down. Well, it's going to leave it up to Michael Brantley, who will try for the 2-out RBI hit. He hit a line drive at the second baseman Dozier that ended the first inning.
Well, this was Mr. 2-out base hit last year. Michael Brantley, the team's best with runners in scoring position. Like to see him get another hit and pick up that run at third base with an opportunity.
He takes it's a little bit outside, ball 1. His career numbers are very impressive. Looking for those clutch hits. Breaking ball down and in, missed.
It might be his first curveball that he has broken out today.
Just outside 3-0. It's almost as if Hughes is saying, I'm not going to give him anything that he can hurt me with here.
Being very careful, isn't he? Brantley jumped on the first pitch in his first at bat, hit a line drive, but he's just going to, I don't know, pick your poison here. You want Brantley, you want Santana. Santana had a base hit his first at bat.
He finds the strike zone here. Over the last 2 seasons, Brantley has hit a combined .375 with runners in scoring position. Takes ball 4.
But you see, he has the patience enough. He doesn't get aggressive. He makes the pitcher work to get him out. And that's what makes Michael so good in those situations. He doesn't expand the strike zone. You come to Papa or forget about it. I'll take first base.
Well, let's see if Carlos Santana can deliver. He jumped on a high fastball first time up and laced a single into right field. With runners at the corners, Minnesota unable to employ the drastic shift for Carlos.
Yeah, you remember Dozier was in short right field, and he was diving for that base hit that Santana had in his first at bat.
Bill Hughes trying to minimize the damage now after giving up the home run, and he gets a pop-up that should get him out of the inning. Santana, the shortstop, makes the catch. Indians strand a pair, but Roberto Perez, leading the team in home runs, puts the Indians up 1-0. Enjoy a cold one on this Saturday afternoon. To stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Bottom of the third, 1-0 Cleveland. Eduardo Nunez, Jordan Schaefer, and Danny Santana due up for the Twins. Nunez takes a strike.
Salazar has been pounding the strike zone so far to this point. 35 pitches, 23 strikes.
Oh, hanger that time, and Nunez turns it around, sends it to the wall in left field, and he's got himself a leadoff double.
Had him down in the count 0-2, and check out the pitch. It was an off-speed pitch, maybe a changeup that he left on the inside part of the plate. And he turns on it, ropes it into left field, gets to the wall. Nunez gets his second double of the year. From Minnesota trying to come back after the Indians got on the board in the top half of the third.
Batter is Jordan Schaefer. A couple of sacrifice bunts in last night's game. Not bunting here, swing and a miss. It's 0-1. Schaefer 4 hits in his first 25 at bats this year. Bunts it up in the air, foul back over the screen.
You know, it's tough to hit 95, 96 mile an hour fastball. It's also tough to bunt it, especially when it's up in the air, because you have to get it perfectly to get that ball on the ground. You may hit a line drive through there if you try and bunt it. It's coming so hard.
The 0-2 ran it upstairs.
Yeah, when you get to a point now and you're trying to get that guy to third base that you did early in the count, and now you're down 0-2, you're just battling to try and put the ball in play. If you get him over now, it's a bonus, but you don't want to swing and miss. You don't want to help him out. You want to try to get him there by putting it in play.
Salazar blew it by him. That's a half dozen Ks for Danny. One down here in the third. Let's get a listen from Danny Salazar on his pitch grips and what he's trying to execute.
Well, this is my forcing fastball. You know, every time I throw it, I just try to feel it, that I release it like right in front. And that's basically it with it. Got my changeup, you know. Most of the changeup, they're coming this way. I try to go this way a little bit more. So when I move my wrist at the end, you know, it got like more depth down. And this is my slider. I try to go like with the same arm of motion that I throw my fastball, you know. So, but at the end, I just go here, so it got like this big depth.
I still am fascinated by his changeup.
Well, you know what? His changeup and slider look awfully alike, you know, with the way he holds it, because sometimes that slider backs up on him and that changeup goes down. So I'll tell you what, it's working today. He did hang a changeup 0-2 here to Nunez to start the inning off, but he's been dynamite, striking out 6 out of the first 9.
Including Danny Santana, who's in the hole 0-2. And he just stays alive. The fastball was up, so he was able to flick his bat at it, get a piece of it. The 0-2. And again, Santana spoils it. But the reason he's able to spoil it is because the ball is up. When he's able to get it down around the knees, they've literally got no shot. All 6 strikeouts to this point have been swinging. Close play back at the bag. And Nunez might have jammed his hand going back in there. Either that or he ran into the cleat of Ramirez.
Well, that's what you do. When you go down there and you're a defender and they want to come back head first, you either drop a knee down there on the bag where you try and get his hand, or put your feet in the way. It's not going to hurt your cleats or your feet. You see, he tried to reach around, and I think he did. He's shaking that right hand.
He went right into the foot of Ramirez. So
if not the foot, the bag, one of those two. Sometimes when you go back to that base at second with your feet and you have the spikes on, they can't get in the way, because it's going to be their ankle or foot that's going to hurt.
Nunez might think that Ramirez stepped on him, but he literally, his hand went into the foot of Jose. I think what he was maybe complaining about is that Ramirez had his path blocked going back to the bag.
That's legal.
Another 1-2. Swing and a miss. He goes off speed to get his 7th strikeout of the game. 2 down here in the third.
I mean, now you see he fouled off high fastballs, and then he comes back with a changeup. Look where it's located. That was down in the zone. He swings over the top of it. So I'll tell you, Salazar, Let's see if we can pick up. There's the grip that he uses. You see this finger and his little finger, index and little finger with the two in the middle over the top of the baseball. And it has the same arm speed as the fastball, except it just doesn't get there as fast.
Torrey Hunter watches a heater go flying up out of the strike zone. Two down here in the third. Tying run in scoring position for Minnesota. And Hunter pops it straight up behind the plate. Back to the screen. Roberto Perez, no play. And that guy missed a play too. Boy, he had it right in his mitts.
It's a fair catch for him.
Now the 1-1. And a foul right back. And the only problem with all these strikeouts for Danny is it takes a lot of pitches. Only 3 batters have put the ball in play so far in this game. One-two coming to Torrey Hunter. Time was called just as he was ready to release. There's the 1-2. Hit well. Deep right center field. Off the wall. Nunez will score to tie the game. And Hunter into second base with a 2-out RBI double. It came on a 1-2 pitch.
That looked like it might have been a fastball up and out over the plate to Hunter, and he stayed on the baseball. So the 2 hits in the inning have been doubles. This one, you got to tip your cap. There it is. He stayed on it. He drives it to right center field. And he will tie the game up at 1 with a 2-out double for Hunter, his 3rd RBI. So back comes Minnesota. They answer that run that the Indians put on the board in the top half of the 3rd. We've seen that a lot this year as well. When the Indians have scored, a lot of times you see the response come right back in the bottom half of the inning or the top half, whatever it may be if you're at home.
Well, the thing that makes that sequence with Hunter interesting is ahead in the count 1-2. I think with a lot of hitters, I understand that down and away pitch at the knees. But we've seen Torrey Hunter for a lot of years, and we know that he likes to go down and take pitches to the opposite field. It's almost as if you're doing him a little bit of a favor. Now, if he throws that pitch off the plate because he's ahead in the count, maybe I understand it, but...
Well, he's got to catch up to that fastball, and he did. He stayed on it. It was elevated a little bit. It was out over the plate. Like you say, just the 4th guy to put the ball in play. And the three out of the 4 that have done it have hits. The other was an out that Hunter made to center field. It was a line drive to Bourne. Other than that, the other guys that have put it in play have hits.
An off-speed pitch from Salazar might have been that changeup again.
Yeah, big swing for Bauer. I mean, a big swing for him. They pull the string on him. Excellent pitch. He used to be able to with Joe Bauer. He wouldn't take that swing, and you see him out in front. He's different this year.
The 2-2. Upstairs with a fastball and a full count.
You know, they're counting on this guy to drive in a lot of runs for him because he's in the number 3 hole, especially when you don't have a number 4 hole hitter. They're hitting Dozier there to begin with. So they'd like to see him hit for more extra, you know, more power, more extra base hits, and drive in more runs when you're in the number 3 hole. And I just have a funny feeling that's one reason why he's trying to pull the ball a lot more.
Payoff pitch. Swing and a miss. He strikes him out. So Danny Salazar taking a little something off here in the 3rd inning, gets out of further trouble, but the Twins tie the game.
KeyBank Kids tickets start at just $10 for kids 12 and under with the purchase of an adult ticket. Kids are located in the new family deck at Progressive Field and home to the expanded Kids Clubhouse. So log on to Indians.com.
4th inning here in Minnesota. Tied at 1. Brandon Moss leading it off. And Phil Hughes drops in a first pitch strike. Fouled right back to the screen. Nothing into the count. Just off the outside corner. Boy, a tempting pitch. Moss gets into one, hits it well. Deep right center field. Back is Hunter looking up. It is off the wall. And into second base with a leadoff double is Brandon Moss. He just missed hitting one out of here in the 4th.
Second double for the Indians. He left him a little breaking ball out over the plate. That cutter gave him a little bit of swinging room, and Moss took advantage of it. Hits it off the auxiliary scoreboard in right center field. For Brandon, his second double. And back come the Indians.
Now here's David Murphy. Tap one back to the mound, his only time up. And he fouls that one off right at home plate. Pulls it on the right side of the infield. Dozier will throw him out, but Murphy gets the tying run to third. Let's send it back to Al Pulaski right now, who has a Mazda game break for us. All right, thanks, Al. Minnesota going to bring the infield in again with one out. Monty Chisenhall will be the batter. He sends a long fly ball to left, plenty deep enough to get the run home from third. Moss will tag. He will come home as Arcia's throw is cut off, and the Indians regain the lead at 2-1. For Chisenhall, his fourth run batted in on the year. Good execution by the Indians here in this top half of the fourth inning.
Well, it didn't take Chisenhall long. He went after that first pitch and stayed on it to left field. Gets his fourth ribby, so they come back and they take the lead again.
Roberto Perez provided the first run of this game with a towering monster homer. 435-foot shot to left center back in the third.
Well, look at the fastball down the middle. Boy, and he got it all. That thing just seemed to keep right on carrying. He had that kind of top spin, you know, the spin on the baseball where it goes forever.
Just missed outside for Hughes. Pop toward left. Long run in for Arcia. He can't get there. And Roberto Perez has a 2-out single, so he's 2 for 2. And the inning continues now for Jose Ramirez. Hit it right off the end of the bat, and sometimes that works to your advantage as a hitter.
Yeah, Arcia wasn't going to get there. It was off the end. You could see he was fooled. But the big swing, it's not that he was going to catch it anyway. I think that ball just would have fell in no matter how he tried and what kind of jump he got. Perfectly placed.
Jose Ramirez lined to double down the right field line his first time up. Takes a fastball strike here.
When we were here last year, Arcia was always playing right field. Now that they signed Torrey Hunter, Torrey goes to right, and Arcia has been playing in left field. Made his first start there last night with Hunter off. So maybe a different position for him.
Swung out and missed. 1-2. Now the 1-2 and a little bit outside. I was thinking back, Rick, to 1997 when the Indians acquired David Justice. He went to right field, or he had to make the move to left field because the Indians had Manny Ramirez in right at that time. He said it was a bit of an adjustment.
It is. It's a bit of a difference. In left field, left-handers don't drive the ball over your head like right-handers do in right center field. You know what I'm saying? More right-handed hitters hit it with authority. So the left-handers, you'll have more balls hit in front of you. Now there was a big swing from a right-hander that went off the end of the bat, and it falls in. It is one of the toughest places to pick up the ball, I think, is in left.
The 2-2. Frozen. And Ramirez is out looking. But the Indians turn a leadoff double by Brandon Moss into the go-ahead run. 2-1 Cleveland, middle of the fourth.
Our new two-story bar with the $13 district ticket. It is presented by Sports Time Ohio, and the new bar is the best place in town to grab a cold one. And with the district ticket, your first drink is on us. So visit Indians.com for the details.
Danny Salazar goes to work here in the bottom of the fourth inning. He has given up 3 hits and has struck out 8 in the first 3 innings here today. Brian Dozier down swinging his first time up. Fouled off the mask of Perez. He's checking out his headgear.
Ooh, direct hit. Just deflected it straight into the mask.
Threw it right by him at 96, and it's 2-2. Oh, that was up and in at 98 miles an hour. That'll get your attention.
Yeah, it will. That's a quick wake-up call right there.
Payoff pitch a little bit low, and that's the first walk issued by Salazar today. Our great clip of the game from last night. Corey Kluber, he was good again. 8 innings, 2 runs on 3 hits, struck out 8.
This guy has electric stuff, man. He makes hitters look bad. They haven't been able to score for him. They had a really weird inning in the 6th last night where they scored the 2 runs, but he's pitched 3 good games and has nothing to show for it.
And to the surprise of no one who knows Kluber or is around the ball club, he said after the game, that kind of thing happens in baseball. He said there are There are periods where the pitching doesn't do well and the offense picks you up, and there's time where you pitch well and there's no run support. He said that's just all part of it. No frustration in his voice detectable.
No, that's the way the game is. You want it to be that way. It is frustrating, but right now it's a frustrating time for the Indians as far as offense goes. Matter of fact, we were looking through the numbers throughout the whole organization. I think it's rampant all the way down from AAA to AA to A-ball to.
It's infectious.
It really is. I don't think anybody is hitting in the whole organization. But that'll change.
One ball and 2 strikes. The count on Kenny Vargas. And Perez hangs on. Foul tip. Strikeout number 9 for Danny Salazar.
Another good fastball up. See, he just did get a piece of it, but right into the glove of Perez. 9 strikeouts.
With 1 out in the 4th.
Yeah, 9 strikeouts out of 10. This is the start against the White Sox. Let me see how many pitches he has to this point. 67. Well, he's had good command. He's had good off-speed stuff too to match his fastball. They haven't been able to touch him. It's all or nothing, man. They put in play. They've got a good chance to get a base hit, but they can't do it.
Well, it goes back to the thing that I've heard for so many years from Major League players, and they say that you get a guy who's throwing upper 90s, which Salazar is. He's been 96, 97, 98 all day. There are a lot of things that have to go just right for you to be able to really square that pitch up.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's over the plate.
That start he had in Chicago last year in April, he went 3 2/3 innings. He had 10 strikeouts on 93 pitches. Right now we're at 3 1/3 with 9 punch outs and only 69 pitches.
Yeah. Well, the positive for Danny today is that he hasn't really gone to a lot of deep counts.
Well, yeah, I know. You're right. He has the one walk, which started the inning off, and that was a close pitch, 3-2.
One hopper to short. Ramirez to Kipnis for 1 on to first. A double play ends the inning. Danny Salazar, just what the doctor ordered, a 2-for-1 ball. As the Tribe turns 2, Danny's fanned 9 in 4 innings of work, and the Indians lead it by a run. your Northern Ohio Honda dealers. By the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough.
Kirby Puckett, one of the many all-time great Twins immortalized here at Target Field. Michael Bourne, Jason Kipnis, and Michael Brantley batting for the Tribe here in the 5th. Bourne 0 for 2 this afternoon and 0 for 6 thus far against the Twins. One ball, one strike. Hughes, 40 of his 60 pitches have been strikes. And that's fouled right back. A little bit low. 2-2.
He throws that curveball, but it's almost like he waits till that second time through the lineup to show it to him.
And Bourne out looking. Second strikeout of the game for Hughes. One down here in the 5th. And our in-game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Roberto Perez gave the Indians a 1-0 lead with his second home run of the season. That came in the 3rd. Minnesota tied it on a Torrey Hunter. 2-out RBI double in the 3rd, and then in the 4th, Lonnie Chisholm put the Indians right back in front, plating Brandon Moss, who had doubled with a sac fly. Jason Kipnis, a one-hopper to second. 2 down. Michael Brantley to the plate, lined out in the 1st, drew a walk in the 3rd. A fastball in there for a strike. Brantley sends a drive to right field right at Torrey Hunter. And the Indians go 1-2-3 for only the 2nd time today. Middle of the 5th, 2-1 Cleveland. Bottom of the fifth inning, let's take a look at our T-Mobile game changer. Mike Trout, youngest player to reach 100 homers and 100 steals. He's hit in every game so far this year, off to a fast start. Fouled right back. Golfs that one. Deep right field. Murphy back onto the track. Makes a running catch for out number one. Nice play by David Murphy to stay with it. Here's our AT&T Uverse Rewind. And Rick, we've seen the secondary stuff really play well for Salazar today.
He's got a very good changeup. That first one was a slider, and then it's been a steady diet of changeups, and he's located it very well. You know, I guess it comes to a feel with him. When you have that feel, he has it today, and he's pitched brilliantly. Very good. Locating that fastball. Look at that. He's starting to settle in. 98 outside corner.
Eduardo Nunez doubled and scored his first time up. And now he shoots one the other way. Base hit to right field. So Nunez has Salazar's number today, but he's about the only guy.
Two pretty good at bats. He pulled that. It was an 0-2 changeup his first time up that he hit down the left field line. Then he smokes his fastball to right field. Two good swings by Nunez. He is 2 for 2. He has half of the Twins' hits.
Now it's Jordan Schaefer who struck out his only time up in the third. Nunez takes off, and Schaefer pops it up left field. Brantley charging in near the line. Makes the catch.
Double play.
And now all the way back to first. Double play ends the inning. Nunez was around second base before he realized where the ball was.
Got to pick it up.
And so it was an easy play for Brantley to fire back to Santana to complete the twin killer. Eduardo Nunez took off on the pitch to Jordan Schaefer, and Rick, he just never picked up the ball.
Well, that tells me it may have been a straight steal. He was trying to steal a base, but he didn't realize the guy put it in play, so he goes in sliding into second base head first, and then he's got to get all the way up and come back, and you can't do it. You know, eventually, even when you start stealing a base, and you're going to take a peek in to see if the guy hits the ball, whether it's a hit and run or not. If you're a base stealer, you'll learn how to do that, and it takes a while.
Because the middle infielders are always going to go to the bag and try to deke you, aren't they?
Sure they will.
One down here in the 6th. The Santana grounds out.
You know, so he probably took off on his own trying to steal a base, and the hitter put the ball in play, but he wasn't paying attention, nor did he pick up his coaches. That's why you peek in, so you don't need the coaches.
Brandon Moss doubled off the wall and right his last time up. Takes a strike. Brushed him back a little bit. 1-1. This is, Rick, very similar to the kind of game Hughes pitched against the Indians last year late in the season. Went 7 innings, gave up 1 run on 5 hits. He also had a game later in the year where he went 7 innings, gave up 10 hits, and was charged with 4 runs, but wound up with a no decision. Minnesota ended up winning that game 5-4.
Well, I mean, both starters have been very good today. You get a 2-1 ball game. They're both doing their job. And, you know, when you look at it to this point in the season, both offenses between the Twins and the Indians very similar. When you're talking batting averages, you're talking runs scored, you know, just about everything. They both struggle a little bit, but Minnesota's on a 3-game winning streak.
Moss strikes out, 2 down. 3rd K for Hughes. Gear up for the 2nd annual Velasano Bike Ride for Cancer Research, July 17th through the 19th. There's an option for everyone with 6 different routes that start and finish downtown Cleveland. 1- and 2-day rides. Every dollar raised by Velasano participants benefit cancer research at Cleveland Clinic. So spread the word. Bike to Cure. Velasano.org. David Murphy slowly taps one to first. And the Indians are retired in order. That's 7 in a row set down by Phil Hughes. 2-1, Indians lead it, bottom of the 6th inning. Top of the order, due up for Minnesota. Danny Salazar with 9 strikeouts so far here today. It's a little bit high, ball 1. Swinging from his heels, came up empty, and it's 1-1. Right back to the screen. And Danny ahead of the count, 1-2. Salazar has answered the challenge for the Indians here today. Getting his first start of the year, and he's pitched very well.
Yeah, scattering 4 hits. He's only walked 1.
Strikes him out.
Got him.
Number 10 for Danny Salazar. And as brilliant as his fastball has been today, it's the off-speed pitches, the slider and the changeup, that have been able to net him all of these strikeouts today.
You catch those hitters in between, they have to be geared for the fastball. He's proven he can throw that for strikes, and then all of a sudden you come in and he's had a really outstanding changeup today as well.
Torrey Hunter, you can see him on that off-speed delivery, just sort of caught in between.
When you prove to hitters that you can throw 2, sometimes 3 pitches for strikes, that's always in the back of their mind, that they have to look for something a little bit more, and then they'll be sitting on the off-speed pitch. They can't catch up to his fastball. It's tough enough to catch up to his fastball when you're looking for it. And then when he drops that slider, he's thrown a couple of good sliders today, but it's the changeup that has really set everything else up too, to go with his fastball. This guy could be a fastball changeup guy if he can command it, and be unbelievable. There's the breaking ball. If you remember, Hunter drove in their run with the 2-out double because of a high fastball when he had him down on the count to right center field. So he's putting some tilt on this pitch this time. Just power him inside, belt high and in. I don't think you slow it down for him. Sometimes you're doing him a favor. He left the fastball out over the plate. Throw it inside to him this time, and he won't catch up to it.
To third, Lonnie Chisenhall there to gobble it up. Perfect throw across the diamond. 2 down. Now Roberto Perez doing a fine job trying to fill the shoes of Yan Gomes. Go downstairs to Andre Knott. They really don't have any doubts as far as his abilities behind the plate, do they?
No, they don't. One of the things that many people don't talk about is how he framed pitches. I talked to Trevor Bauer about his start on Wednesday. He had 11 strikeouts, 6 of them were called, and he said he probably wouldn't have got 3 of them without Perez behind the plate. He was ranked as the best in AAA with it, and Terry Francona said with the wild pitches yesterday, he goes, that more came from Roberto just believing in his hands that are so good, more so than him being a bad catcher.
Yeah, you know, that's a good point. Sometimes that's a blessing and a curse for a catcher. When you can pick it, you sometimes think you can get them all. There's a line drive deep left field. Back is Brantley on the move. It's going to one-hop the fence. Here's a long throw to second base. Mauer in safely with a 2-out double.
That's the Joe Mauer that I'm used to seeing right here. Let's see what the pitch is. It's a fastball away, and he stayed on it. He did not try to pull that pitch, and he drove it to left field. It hits the warning track and goes up off the wall. Brantley has to play it, but not before Mauer gets a double. So 3 of the 5 hits the Twins have today have gone for doubles. But there's 2 outs, so he has an opportunity to make his pitch and get out of the inning.
Brian Dozier struck out in the first. He walked in the 4th. And it's up high, ball 1. Salazar has just hit 90 pitches on the afternoon. Bullpen, actually both bullpens quiet. There's a good fastball. 97. No match. You see 97, and then all of a sudden this little spinner comes in there. 60 of his 92 pitches have been above 95 miles an hour. That time Dozier lays off.
Tried to double up on it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what good hitters, that's what major league hitters do. If you can get them that one time with an off speed, a breaking ball, and they swing at it, they get to 2 strikes, they see that same pitch again, they're able to lay off it. Where I think in the minor leagues that they go ahead and swing at it.
The 2-2. Fastball missed his target. Wasn't a bad pitch. When you saw where Perez was set up down and away, and that ball came back in and was down. So full count with Kenny Vargas on deck. And Vargas has been no match for Salazar today. Dozier lays off. It's ball 4. He's walked him for the second time today. And Vargas will bat with 2 on and 2 out here in the 6th inning. Nick Hagedorn has begun to throw in the Indians bullpen. Vargas has not been able to catch up to the heat. Up and away with a fastball for ball 1. Perez going to go out to talk with Salazar.
Yeah, just get in the strike zone. He's still got very good stuff. He's been able to elevate the fastball by Vargas today.
Indians lead it 2-1. I mean, 97 miles an hour.
He's been there all day long.
Vargas just looks like he's tardy.
He is.
Can't get started soon enough, can he?
Nope, and he continues to swing at that pitch. Maybe if you're not catching up to it, you might take it to see if they call it a strike, but you stay right there.
There's a fastball and a little liner to third, caught by Chisenhall to end the inning. No runs, a hit, 2 men left. Indians lead it 2-1 as we head to the 7th.
Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT&T Uverse, has more channels on the go than cable.
2-1 Cleveland, 7th inning. Lonnie Chisenhall, Roberto Perez, and Jose Ramirez due for Cleveland. Bottom third is combined for a run scored, couple of runs driven in, and 3 hits on the day.
Yeah, Chisenhall, the difference in the game right now. Sacrifice fly back in the 4th inning to give the Indians a 2-1 lead.
Pops this one up. Shallow center, out goes Santana. And the shortstop will make the catch one away. This was back in the 3rd inning. Roberto Perez, crunch. His 2nd home run of the year to lead the club. 4 runs batted in. Got 2 hits today. Gives him 3 so far in the series. Outside ball 1. Broke his bat. That's going to go foul.
Well, our new Tribe Town MVP's Kids Club is designed for dedicated Tribe fans between the ages of 6 and 14. And MVPs take part in exclusive events and receive cool gear to add to their collection. Go to Indians.com.
One ball, 1 strike with 1 out here in the 7th. And he hammers another base hit. This one goes to left field, and it's backhanded by Arcia.
Picked the right bat out of the bat rack for that one.
He is a perfect 3 for 3 on the afternoon.
Check it out on our Wendy's slow-mo cam. And it was a fastball middle in. He likes to hit the fastball. He seeks it. He tried to sink this one and run it inside. Didn't get it in there. And Perez gets his 3rd hit of the afternoon.
Up comes Jose Ramirez, who's 1 for 2 with a double. Well, Sandy Alomar really feels that Roberto Perez has done a great job of improving his overall game. Now Ramirez with a base hit into right field, and Perez will stop at second base. Picked up his 3rd base coach Mike Sarbaugh immediately as he rounded the bag. And the Indians with back-to-back hits here in the 7th inning.
Well, I'll tell you what, the bottom part of the lineup has been outstanding today for the Indians. They're 5 for 8. As you mentioned, they've driven in 2, they scored 1, and they've set this inning up again for the top of the lineup and see if they can capitalize here and add to a 2-1 lead.
Here's Michael Bourne, 0 for 3 today. And looks at a ball up high. Bourne is flied out, grounded out, and struck out. And that's outside. 2-0. He is just over 80 pitches on the day, and Twins have their bullpen busy under the watchful eye of Eddie Guardado. Remember old everyday Eddie?
Yes, I do. Very well.
2-0 pitch. Bourne looks at a strike. And now Michael lines one toward right field. Torrey Hunter coming hard, reaches down, makes a great basket catch. Tries to throw back to second, but to no avail. 2 away. Showing the former Gold Glove flair.
Ball had a little sink action to it. He picks it up off the ground. That's out number 2.
It'll bring up Jason Kipnis, who is 0 for 7 in the series to this point. Line drive, base hit, right field. Perez coming around third. He's going to score. Hunter's throw back towards the infield. Going to third base on the play is Ramirez, and the Indians' lead is 3-1. Kipnis picks up his 3rd run batted in on the year as the Indians get that clutch 2-out RBI hit here in the 7th.
It's going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it, boy. They've had a tough time this year hitting with runners in scoring position or even on base, and he jumps on the first cutter and hits it into right field. So a 2-out base hit will add to it. The bottom part of the lineup set it up, and it looks like Phil Hughes' afternoon will be over. Molitor taking a walk to the mound.
Well, that hit for Jason Kipnis snaps an 0 for 16 and came at just the right time. Paul Molitor makes the call for the left-hander. Phil Hughes exits to the dugout. Indians leading it 3-1. They've got first and third, 2 down. And Caleb Thebar will be coming in after Molitor makes the Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen here in the 7th inning. Works 1 month. It's April in the OHIO, and you can win a terrific tribe experience starting next Monday. Make sure you're tuned in to find out how to enter. Caleb Thebar coming on with Michael Brantley at the plate, first and third, and this is where the Indians could use another one of those big clutch 2-out RBI hits.
Well, he was just called up. Brian Dunsing was placed on the disabled list, and he came into last night's ball game. And back in there, he went 2/3 of an inning last night, gave up a hit, had a strikeout. Back in here trying to get out of this inning.
Brantley quickly in the hole, 0-2. Thielbar throws it away, and scoring is Ramirez. Down to second goes Kipnis, and the Indians lead it 4-1.
Oh boy, thank you. You take that. Ahead in the count, no balls and 2 strikes. Let's see what this pitch is and what it does. I just think that Suzuki just flat out missed that ball.
On the replay, you're right. That didn't look that bad of a pitch.
I think he could have caught that ball. I think he thought it was going to hit in the dirt before it did. I'd be surprised if that's not a pass ball.
The 1-2, Brantley lifts it to center. Routine play for Schaefer. Inning over. But the Indians tally 2 here in the 7th to lead it 4-1. Time now for the 7th inning stretch, brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Danny Salazar will pitch into the 7th inning here today. Nick Hagedorn has been up in the bullpen behind him. So we'll see if Salazar's only on to face the right-hander Suzuki, or if Terry Francona has a longer leash for him than that. As you see, he's just south of the 100 pitch mark. Hurt Suzuki 0 for 2 on the day. That pitch, a low ball 1. One ball, 1 strike. 64 out of 100 for
Pretty
strikes
good
for Danny Salazar.
Indeed. Very good. And more than that fastball. Certainly a good changeup today as well.
Foul back. Not that he has to be this good every time out, but if he can put this kind of consistency together, then Indians could have the makings of another special pitcher. The 1-2. Just off the outside corner.
Well, that's the whole key of being in that rotation and being a number 5 starter, is you got to be consistent.
Can't be once a month.
No, you got to go out there and you've got to give your team that opportunity every day. There's going to be times where you have a stinker, and it happens to everybody.
Sure.
But for the most part, this is what I think they were envisioning when he came to spring training to fight for that number 5 spot. In spring training, he just didn't have it for whatever reason, but boy, this is what they hope for right here.
The 2-2. And Suzuki lays off a ball down near the dirt, full count.
I'm thinking this is going to be his last hitter either way you look at it. If he gets an out or he gets on base.
Payoff pitch. Drilled deep left. Back is Brantley looking up, and it's gone. Kurt Suzuki on a 3-2 pitch. It's his second home run of the year. Gives Minnesota some life. And it's a 4-2 ball game. Last pitch Salazar throws today ends up in the cheap seats.
Suzuki gets his second. He knew the fastball was coming. Danny a little upset with himself. But he can't be upset today. He threw the ball very well for Tito. So he'll go 6+. Gives up 6 hits and 2 runs. But he'll be leaving with a 4-2 lead. So a good afternoon for Salazar.
Struck out 10, walked only 1. Hagedorn's coming in when we come back. Danny Salazar will watch the rest of this one. Nick Hagedorn will come on to face Oswaldo Arcia with nobody out here in the 7th inning. And the Tribe's lead is 4-2. Going to get a pinch hitter for Arcia. Eduardo Escobar. Right-handed bat will come into the ball game. And a pitch inside for ball 1. Anthony Swarzak, the former Twin, is now loosening for Cleveland. Grounded foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning. Kurt Suzuki leading off the inning with a solo homer to left on a 3-2 pitch. It ended Danny Salazar's day. Up high, couldn't catch up to it. 1-2. Got him. Chased one downstairs. 1 away as Escobar strikes out. Time for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pulaski. All right, thanks, Al. Eduardo Nunez, 2 for 2 today with a single, a double, and a run scored.
Yeah, he had 2 very good at-bats off of Danny. Doubling his first at-bat on an 0-2 changeup and then hitting a fastball the other way.
Al just told us that Atlanta lost today to Toronto in 10 innings. Braves got off to the fast start. They're 7-4. Currently second place in the NL East. How about the New York Mets? Talk about fast starts. They're trying to run their record to 9-3 if they can beat the Marlins tonight.
Yeah, they're on a 6-game winning streak already.
Yeah. Philadelphia stopped a 6-game losing streak today. They beat Washington 5-3. High pop left field over near the line. Brantley, a long run to get there. He's there in the foul ground. Makes the catch. 2 down.
Well, enjoy Indians baseball all summer long with a mini plan starting at just $109. Each plan includes 6 Friday, Saturday, or Sunday games available for 4 locations at Progressive Field. Just go to Indians.com and find out your information.
Jordan Schaefer, the batter, has struck out, and then he flied out into a double play back in the 5th inning. Showed bunt, pulled it back, ball 1. Swarzak continues to throw in the try pin. Low. Back out of play. Bunt, Hagedorn is there. Throws to first to end the inning. Kurt Suzuki's solo home run gets the Twins a run closer. We'll go to the 8th, 4-2 Cleveland.
Is presented by authority of the Cleveland Indians and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. "4-2 Cleveland as we go to the 8th inning. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. So Caleb Thielbar pitches just 1/3 of an inning. Got the last out in the 7th. Now Blaine Boyer, who we saw last night, right back out here today to start the 8th.
He was the winning pitcher. Escobar goes into the game in left field.
Carlos Santana, 1 for 3 today, takes a strike. Santana was 0 for 5 yesterday. Close, but just missed inside. 2-1. Line to left. Escobar just into the game, makes the catch, 1 away. Time for the Hyundai in-game box score. Look at the drive here today. Jason Kipnis, a big 2-out RBI hit.
Bottom part of that lineup.
Roberto Perez, the big story today with a homer. A couple of runs scored, 3 for 3. Jose Ramirez also swinging it well. Brandon Moss doubled to lead off the 4th inning and came around to score on a sac fly by Lonnie Chisenhall. You know, last night, Rick, Trevor Plouffe hit the game-winning home run for Minnesota. And as he was going around the bases, he said he let out some frustration with some yells of, I don't know, exultation or just kind of letting it off his, getting it off his chest. He said, you know, when you struggle early in the year, you can't escape it because you look up on the scoreboard, there's information everywhere. And I got to thinking, there's a lot of guys in that boat right now, especially early in the season, and especially in these two teams. As Moss strikes out, you look up at that scoreboard, there's not a lot of numbers up there that anybody's real thrilled to look at and see, but you can't escape it.
Don't look up there. Try and just keep it down in the focus on the field. He got a nice pitch to hit, and he hit it. He usually seems to hit the Indians very well when we play him every year. He comes up big. It is tough when you start off. You know, you like to have 100 at bats under your belt first to do that, but it just doesn't happen. And it changes, it seems like, every year. Some guys are just notoriously slow starters.
Right back up the middle, but behind second base, Santana's there to throw out Murphy. And the Indians go 1-2-3. We'll head to the bottom of the 8th in Minnesota. 4-2 Cleveland.
Tonight, baseball on Fox Sports 1 returns with an ALE showdown as the Yankees square off against the Rays. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern on America's home for baseball every Saturday, Fox Sports 1, and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Nick Hagedorn stays on to start the 8th inning. Danny Santana, the batter, switch hitter, 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. Anthony Swarzak still warming in the Indians bullpen. Torrey Hunter on deck, then Joe Mauer due here in the Twins half of the 8th inning. Hagedorn with a good 7th. He struck out Escobar. Got Nunez to foul out and Schaefer with a comebacker. Grounded right at Lonnie Chisenhall. He gloves it, throws him out. 1 away. As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. On this date, 1987, Michael Jack Schmidt. Number 500 in his Hall of Fame career at Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh. Torrey Hunter 1 for 3 on the day, an RBI double. That came way back in the 3rd. Hunter again tries to bunt, pops it up. Roberto Perez makes the catch over near the Tribe dugout, 2 away.
Boy, that's a good one to have right there.
Boy, that's a pretty quick reaction from Roberto Perez, too.
Yeah, but it was up there for a while. He bunted that ball, and you can see how much time. It's not easy for a catcher to pick that baseball up. Sometimes they lose it in day games, but he had this one all the way, and it was high enough that Roberto was able to get underneath it and put it away for out number 2.
Joe Mauer's had a good day at the plate for Minnesota. He's 2 for 3, a single and a double. Hagedorn's pitch inside, ball 1. High pop, center field. Michael Bourne. Nick Hagedorn, 6 up, 6 down. He was terrific here today. 4-2 Cleveland as we go to the 9th.
4-2 Cleveland. Time now for the Pat O'Brien play of the game. Jason Kipnis with a 2-out RBI single in the 7th. It allowed the Indians to add to their lead.
Yeah, that
made it
helped.
3-1, right? And then the wild pitch made it 4-1.
That's right. They gave him that last run, but Kip jumped on that first pitch with 2 outs in the 7th. And that was it for Hughes.
Blaine Boyer worked a 1-2-3-8. He'll stay on the pitch here in the 9th. Lonnie Chisenhall 0 for 2 with an RBI on a sac fly. Takes a strike. White Sox a final. They beat up Detroit today 12-3. Only the second loss of the year for the Tigers. Bounced to second, backhanded by Dozier. 1 away. Boy, Roberto Perez has had quite a day. He homered in the 3rd inning. That gave the Indians the lead, 1-0. Then in the 4th, off the end of the bat, base hit in the shallow left field. And then in the 7th, he roped an line drive single. So he's a perfect 3 for 3. You know, Sandy Alomar was saying, hey, if it wasn't for Yan Gomes, this guy might be starting for a lot of other teams.
Well, he filled in very nicely last year. As you mentioned, it took a while because if you look at his minor league numbers, they're just not there. And if you're not a high draft pick, you don't have a lot of money invested in you, don't get the opportunity. Well, last year he came up and boy, he fit in beautifully. Now he's going to get an opportunity to play mostly every day. And we'll see. You don't know if he can be an everyday catcher. Obviously, they feel he can. They like his defensive skills. Can he hit offensively? I'll tell you one thing. He loves the fastball. He gets after it.
I don't know. I look at it like this. I like an aggressive swinger. Give me a guy who's not afraid to swing the bat. You always say it, a swinging bat's a dangerous at bat.
It is. You can always reel it in and be less aggressive. It's tough when you're a patient hitter to try and be more aggressive because it's just not in your DNA. We're watching Mauer do that now, because he's been a patient hitter for a long, long time. If you know the strike zone, and that's where you find it out when you get a chance to play every day. When you can get 4 at bats, that's how you find yourself as a hitter. And believe me, it is a work in progress because this fraternity of pitchers, when they find a zone or a hole that you can't hit, they attack it on a daily basis until you make adjustments. And right now, that's what the Indians' offense has to do is make adjustments.
Well, we're seeing that with Brandon Moss, how teams are just pounding him inside, and really not giving him a lot of swinging room.
Well, the hits he has in the series, they left him out over the plate for him to hit, and he was able to do it. And you have to take advantage. Now the Indians are getting opportunities where they're going to see some right-handed pitching. Remember, they had their 4 games in a row where they had lefties. 6 out of the next 7 are going to be right-handed pitchers. So you have to take advantage of it when you're left-handed. You can't, dawdle here. You got to get after it.
Well, the Indians are not the only club that has had a slow start to their season. How about the San Francisco Giants? They've lost 8 in a row. 1-2 ball bounce to third. Tough play for Nunez. Gets up, throws.
Nice.
And a perfect one-hop strike across the diamond.
He did that throw right on purpose. The one hop where you don't have to get it there, even though your momentum, and he bounces up quickly. But it's just a one-hop throw. It's beautiful because off the grass you get a true hop. Look at that. Nice play for Mauer. That's well done. You don't have to throw it in the air. That's where you used to see that a lot of times in the old Metrodome on turf, where you'd bounce a lot of balls over there to your first baseman. That's a nice play.
Jose Ramirez has 2 hits on the day.
Sends one to left. Back goes Escobar, and he'll make the catch. Indians go 1-2-3. We'll go to the bottom of the ninth. 4-2 Cleveland. As we go to the bottom of the ninth. Danny Salazar was terrific here today for Cleveland. He went 6 innings, gave up 6 hits. I'm not even sure how. 2 runs, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts.
Yeah, he was outstanding today. Good fastball, good changeup. Was the primary off-speed pitch he used today, and he really had a lot of swings and misses working.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, right from the start, he came out and he was pumping the heater and then started to mix in that changeup and a lot of swings and misses.
All 10 of his strikeouts were swinging.
Yeah, had him down, boy. Those guys had to get geared up for it. He pitched a beauty.
Recapping our keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Indians got some offense today. Hasn't been exactly a breakout game, but thanks to Danny Salazar, they've got a chance to win here if Cody Allen can close it out in the bottom of the ninth. He's got Dozier, Vargas, and Suzuki, 4, 5, and 6 in the Twins lineup. Rocky start for Cody thus far. And a fastball strike. Dozier struck out in the first. He walked his last 2 times up.
And after Salazar, Hagedorn came in and pitched 2 good innings.
Breaking ball misses to even it up at 1-1. 6 up, 6 down for Nick Hagedorn, the left-hander. And again, he misses with the off-speed pitch. 2-1. Dozier can sit back and look for a fastball now. He gets it, but can't do anything with it. 2-2. And Cody Allen can't necessarily just abandon the breaking ball. See if he gives it one more whirl here.
Well, he'll try and get a feel for it. When that's working, boy, he's nasty. You're not going to get him.
That was the game in Houston. Remember, he came in. It was just boom. Everything he threw was strikes.
9 pitches, 9 strikes.
Yeah.
You know, he has that working. It's your chances are very slim. There it is.
Wow, he did come back to it and strikes out Dozier. 1 away. You have to have the faith and confidence that you will be able to throw it for a strike.
Well, you got to get a feel for it. Sometimes you go out there and it takes you a few pitches. He threw two that he out of the zone, but he comes back with it, gets the third strikeout. You know, it's nice to have his 95-mile-an-hour fastball, but you know, when you have that other one working, you're going through the middle part of the lineup. Boy, it helps.
Kenny Vargas 0 for 3 on the day. A little bit outside, ball 1. Popped up, foul. Chisenhall near the seats. No, can't get to it. Have to come back and try again. Right now, Kenny Vargas is saying, is there anybody that doesn't throw mid-90s?
Well,
he's seen
many,
a lot of.
I'll tell you that, not many. He may have a chance to see one tomorrow. TJ House is going to wrap it up, and he can pitch it. He's, I'm sure, looking forward to getting out there and getting his second start.
A 1-1 from Cody. Breaking ball, nasty. You can see Vargas was geared up for that mid-90s, and once he started, just swung right over the top of it.
Yeah, that's just bearing in. Kept coming in.
Got him. Oh, came right back to the same pitch, Arch. That was pretty. Back-to-back strikeouts for Cody Allen.
You got it, man. Come right back with the same pitch. He missed it by a foot the last time. This one even had more of the plate, and he swings over the top of that one as well. 2 up, 2 down, 2 strikeouts.
Alan Jensen are coming up next with Indians Live, presented by Conrad. Stay tuned for that.
They'll have fun breaking down Salazar there, won't they?
Boy, you're not kidding. And Cody Allen to this point. This is vintage Cody Allen to this point. That pitch was, I guess, a little bit high. Suzuki ended Danny Salazar's day with a home run on a 3-2 pitch in the 7th. Boy, after those first 2 breaking balls, he has found it. Now it's a go-to pitch for Cody. Trying to make it a 1-2-3, 9th inning. Showed bunt, but he was able to pull it back in time. A 2-ball, 1-strike count. 23,949 at Target Field on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. Series will wrap up tomorrow. 2 o'clock Eastern time. We'll have it for you right here on Sports Time Ohio. The 2-1. Out of play. Cody Allen with the 2-2. Up and away with a fastball.
He was upset at himself there. You see, after he released that ball, just a little upset with the delivery.
Eduardo Escobar would be next. The 3-2. Pop to right, over near the line. Murphy, does he have enough room? Can't get to it. Needed about another row.
Yeah, it looked like he was going to get there, and that thing just sliced over into the seats right towards the end. You see, there's not a lot of foul territory in most of these ballparks nowadays, and in that was the first row, wasn't it? Just gets into the seats, so he lives for another pitch.
And the payoff pitch is low, ball 4.
Well, for Suzuki, a nice at-bat to at least bring that tying run to the plate if you're the Minnesota Twins.
Eduardo Escobar struck out his only time up, came on as a pinch hitter in the 7th inning. Four runs on 8 hits for Cleveland, 2 runs, 6 hits for Minnesota. We got a pinch runner at first base, right?
Yes, we do.
Chris Herman. And it's ball 1. There's a strike called as Herman goes down to second base. Swung and missed at a ball in the dirt. I mean, that was crazy. Twins down to their last strike on a wild pitch. Herman advances to third. They had some serious fight.
Well, yeah, it sure did. It goes down, and we've had a couple of guys swinging at pitches like that's how they scored a run last night on a wild pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3, gets to the backstop. Will he go there again?
Now the 1-2. Breaking ball, and he got a piece of it.
He left it up a little higher this time. And I think that's what he just got a piece of, and I mean barely. I think he still would have chased it if it was down in the dirt.
See if he rides the fastball up out of the strike zone, maybe. Swing and a miss with another breaking ball, and that ends the game. Cody Allen strikes out 3 here in the 9th, and the Indians even the series at a game apiece as they hold on for the 4-2 victory here this afternoon. Cody Allen gets his 3rd save on the year, and Danny Salazar, a winner in his season debut for the Indians as he goes 6 innings and allowed just 2 runs. Phil Hughes takes the loss for the Twins. He drops to 0-3 now on the year. With the victory, Cleveland goes to 4-6. Minnesota falls to 4-7. So the Indians got a great start from Danny Salazar and just enough offense. And most of the offense provided by that man, Roberto Perez, 3 for 4 with a home run. He leads the club in homers. He scored a couple of runs. Also, Jose Ramirez out of the 9-hole with 2 hits. Lonnie Chisenhall, the 7-hole hitter, had an RBI with a sac fly. Jason Kipnis chipped in with a 2-out RBI hit in the 7th. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with the series finale. So for Rick Manning and for Andre Knott, I'm Matt Underwood. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Indians Live, presented by Conrad's, coming up next. Roberto Perez joins Andre Knott. That's straight ahead.